Your one click on the subscribe button makes a huge difference. Thank you for your kind support.
One of the most surprising and emotionally resonant revelations in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning comes with the disclosure of Jasper Briggs' true identity. Portrayed by Shea Whigham, Briggs initially appears to be just another government agent assigned to track down Ethan Hunt. However, as the story unfolds, we learn that Briggs is actually James Phelps Jr., the son of Jim Phelps, Ethan's original IMF team leader, who was revealed as the villain in the very first Mission Impossible film nearly 3 decades ago. This connection creates a powerful link between the franchise's beginning and its conclusion, adding emotional depth and bringing Ethan's journey full circle. When we first meet Briggs in Final Reckoning, he's introduced as a determined U.S. intelligence agent tasked with capturing Ethan Hunt, who has gone rogue in his mission to stop the entity. Working alongside his partner, Theo DeGasse, played by Greg Tarzan Davis, Briggs seems ruthlessly focused on bringing Ethan in, regardless of Ethan's claims about the greater threat facing the world. There's an intensity to Briggs that suggests something personal in his pursuit, a hint that there might be more to his motivations than simple professional duty. The revelation of Briggs' true identity comes in a tense confrontation midway through the film. After capturing DeGasse, Ethan has a private moment with the seemingly unconscious Briggs. In this scene, Ethan demonstrates his perceptiveness by laying out exactly who Briggs really is. Your real name is Jim Phelps. Like your father. This bombshell connects directly back to the first Mission Impossible film from 1996, where Jon Voight played Jim Phelps, Ethan's mentor and team leader, who was ultimately revealed as the film's main antagonist. Ethan continues to fill in Briggs' backstory. He was in the service too. Disappeared when you were 7 years old. You joined to find out what happened to him, and you found out he had legal troubles. This exposition establishes that Briggs/Phelps Jr. has spent his career trying to understand his father's legacy and what happened to him. Ethan adds, he was offered a choice, to join the IMF or spend the rest of his life in prison. Just like you, Hunt. Only in his case, the charge was murder, I believe. Briggs doesn't deny any of this, but his response reveals the depth of his anger and resentment. Your story made my father disgraced as a traitor. That's why you killed him. This accusation refers directly to the climactic events of the first Mission Impossible film, where Jim Phelps was revealed to have betrayed his team and faked his own death for financial gain. The film ended with a confrontation between Ethan and Phelps that resulted in Phelps' death. What makes this revelation particularly powerful is how it recontextualizes both characters' motivations. For Briggs, his pursuit of Ethan isn't just about capturing a rogue agent. It's about confronting the man he believes unjustly killed his father and tarnished the Phelps family name. For Ethan, the appearance of Phelps' son forces him to confront one of the most traumatic episodes of his career, the betrayal by his mentor that set him on his path as an IMF agent. Ethan's response to Briggs' accusation is simple and devastating. It's true. I wish it wasn't. Rather than denying Briggs' claims or defending his actions, Ethan acknowledges the pain he's caused while standing by the truth of what happened. This honesty catches Briggs off guard, as he likely expected denials or excuses. The scene continues with Briggs revealing more about his perspective. Do you think I carry that? That I'm here for revenge? Or what? To clear my father's name? It's my name now. This shows how Briggs has been shaped by his father's disgrace. He's been living under the shadow of the Phelps name, trying to reclaim it through his own service. His resentment toward Ethan is complicated. It's not just about vengeance, but about identity and legacy. Briggs then articulates his view of Ethan. I'm here because I know you're the reason why the world is staring down the barrel of Armageddon. And I also know this isn't the first time you've gambled with the fate of the human race. This criticism cuts to the heart of Ethan's character and career. His willingness to take extraordinary risks when he believes he's right, often against direct orders. What makes the dynamic between Ethan and Briggs/Phelps Jr. particularly compelling is how it echoes the relationship between Ethan and Jim Phelps in the first film. In both cases, Ethan finds himself at odds with a Phelps who believes he's operating according to a higher understanding. But while the elder Phelps was motivated by greed and self-interest disguised as pragmatism, his son appears genuinely concerned with duty and protecting the world, even if his understanding of the situation is incomplete. The tension between them continues throughout the film, with Briggs remaining skeptical of Ethan's claims about the entity and Gabriel. However, as events unfold and the threat becomes undeniable, Briggs begins to see that Ethan's warnings were justified. This gradual shift in perspective creates a powerful arc for Briggs, who must reconcile his personal feelings about Ethan with the reality of the global crisis they're facing. A key moment in their evolving relationship comes when Briggs acknowledges that Ethan's unorthodox methods might be necessary in this extraordinary situation. While he still doesn't fully trust Ethan, he begins to understand that the entity has been manipulating global tensions, just as Ethan claimed. This represents growth for Briggs, who starts to see beyond his personal vendetta to the larger threat. The resolution of their conflict comes in the film's final act. After Ethan has successfully trapped the entity on an isolated storage device, he encounters Briggs one last time. Kittredge is frustrated that Ethan has destroyed the physical embodiment of the entity, but Briggs, now seemingly accepting his identity as James Phelps Jr., makes peace with Ethan. This reconciliation symbolizes closure not just for their personal conflict, but for a narrative thread that began with the very first Mission Impossible film. What makes the James Phelps Jr. revelation particularly satisfying is how it connects to the thematic core of the franchise. The Mission Impossible series has always been about trust, betrayal, and the personal cost of espionage. The first film established these themes with Jim Phelps' betrayal of his team and Ethan's subsequent journey to clear his name. By bringing Phelps' son into the final chapter, the franchise creates a symmetry that honors its beginnings while showing how far Ethan has come. The revelation also serves the narrative function of forcing Ethan to confront his past at the same moment he's facing his greatest challenge. As he works to stop the entity, a threat he unwittingly helped create by stealing the rabbit's foot years ago, he must also face the human consequences of one of his earliest missions. This creates multiple layers of personal responsibility for Ethan to grapple with, adding emotional depth to the typical action hero role. From a character perspective, James Phelps Jr. represents an interesting parallel to Ethan. Both men joined the intelligence community under complicated circumstances, Phelps Jr. to understand his father's legacy, Ethan as an alternative to imprisonment, as referenced in earlier films. Both are dedicated to serving their country, though they have different approaches to duty and rules. This parallel creates a there, but for the grace of God, dynamic. Under different circumstances, their roles might have been reversed. The inclusion of Phelps Jr. also provides a meta-commentary on the evolution of the franchise. The original Mission Impossible film, directed by Brian De Palma, was criticized by fans of the television series for turning Jim Phelps, the hero of the show, into a villain. By introducing Phelps' son and giving him a redemptive arc, Final Reckoning offers a kind of reconciliation with the franchise's complicated relationship to its source material. Throughout the film, Briggs/Phelps Jr.'s character serves as a representation of institutional thinking versus Ethan's more individualistic approach. Briggs initially believes in the system and its ability to handle threats through established protocols. Ethan, shaped by decades of seeing systems fail or be corrupted, trusts his own judgment above institutional wisdom. Their conflict represents two valid but opposing approaches to service and duty. What makes their eventual reconciliation meaningful is that neither completely abandons their perspective. Briggs comes to recognize that extraordinary threats sometimes require Ethan's unorthodox methods, while Ethan acknowledges the importance of institutional support in his final mission. This mutual recognition represents growth for both characters and suggests that effective security requires both adherence to principles and flexibility in their application. The resolution between Ethan and James Phelps Jr. doesn't erase the past. Jim Phelps still betrayed his team, and Ethan still was responsible for his death. Rather, it suggests that while we cannot change the past, we can choose how we respond to its legacy. James Phelps Jr. ultimately chooses to judge Ethan based on his current actions rather than their shared history, representing a maturity that his father lacked. From a franchise perspective, the inclusion of James Phelps Jr. in the final chapter creates a sense of narrative completeness. The Mission Impossible films have grown increasingly interconnected over time, with each new installment building on previous entries rather than simply presenting isolated adventures. By connecting the finale directly to the first film, Final Reckoning emphasizes that Ethan's journey has been one cohesive story rather than a series of unrelated missions. In the film's conclusion, when Phelps Jr. makes peace with Ethan, there's a sense that both men have grown beyond their initial positions. Phelps Jr. has moved past his desire for revenge to recognize Ethan's value, while Ethan has gained a new perspective on how his actions affect others, not just in the immediate term, but across decades. This mutual growth represents the emotional maturation of the franchise itself, which has evolved from relatively straightforward action spectacle to complex meditation on service, sacrifice, and legacy. The James Phelps Jr. revelation in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning stands as one of the most effective narrative choices in the franchise. By connecting the final chapter directly to the first film through the son of Ethan's original Minotaur antagonist, the series creates a sense of coming full circle. This connection adds emotional resonance to what might otherwise be a conventional spy thriller, reminding viewers that behind the spectacular stunts and global conspiracies are human stories of betrayal, redemption, and the long shadows cast by the choices we make.